Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Ask NP Deidre with nurse practitioner Deidre from Ohio. She's a nurse practitioner and functional medicine practitioner as well. And she just got out of a conference where she learned about the 8 pillars of cognitive health. And that is what we're going to be addressing in today's Ask NP Deidre. I'm so excited because I am really, really interested in brain health. And I think everyone, especially in our network who has peripheral artery disease, is concerned about vascular dementia as well. So anything we can do to help preserve our brains so we can think for ourselves a lot longer, I think is a good thing. Thank you so much for being here, Deidre. How was the conference? It must have been just like a brain dump.
Oh, it really was a brain dump. I think day one, I was so exhausted just from all the information and high level of stuff that I learned. And I was like, what can I bring back that's practical? And this 8 pillars of cognitive health that they taught at the PLMI conference, I was just like, oh, this is actionable and really stuff I think that our listeners it will resonate with them.
I love things that are actionable because so many times you're sitting there on the internet and you pull up these articles and it's almost like clickbait. And you're thinking, well, already knew that. Really? Are you really telling me that I need to just sleep more and you're not going to give me additional information? So it's nice when you can actually get tangible takeaways, such as what you experienced. So I think that we should start. What are the 8 pillars of cognitive health and why exactly do they matter?
So the 8 pillars really help remind us that brain health isn't just about the brain and it's a whole body approach. And so when we look at the 8 pillars, there's 3 different categories. And so one is lifestyle, and in the lifestyle, it is rest. Rest, nourish your movement, and then psychosocial. So that connection, that growth, that reflection that we have. And so connection with other people is really important. That's why I think this PAD organization and connecting with other people who are walking this journey is so important, that psychosocial part. And then our environment. And our environment is also like exposures that we have, toxins in the body, our gut health. So we really want to kind of remove and compose those things.
So it's really not just about aging or there are actual deeper causes, right? Than just, well, you're old, of course you're going to lose your mind.
Yeah, so that's a great comment there to make. Just it's not just about aging. Why aging plays a role in our cognitive decline, it's actually not an inevitable thing. It's often driven by things like inflammation, blood sugar imbalances, hormone deficiencies, exposures to toxins, and even gut health. So exciting news is, though, once we know root causes and we start to address those, we can actually improve brain function, and sometimes really dramatically. And so starting to pay attention to that, like levels of your blood sugars, especially because I know you've probably heard in the literature we're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because blood sugar plays such a role in that, blood sugar to the brain. And so taking it back even a further step is understanding like insulin resistance, and then PAD with the inflammation, working on inflammation also, it's typically systemic inflammation that we see. So it's not just because we're aging, it's, 20% of our lives are lived in some sort of disease. And so the goal is that we live less of that 20%, less than 20% in disease.
It's still blowing my mind that you said that Alzheimer's disease is type 3 diabetes.
Yeah,
I
we
had
could,
not heard that. I'm literally, because doctors are still brushing off patients who have pre-diabetes and saying, "Oh, you're fine." Instead of having a real heart to heart, come to Jesus moment, you need to get a handle on this now, or you'll be sorry.
Yeah, like some of the statistics that I learned and was really just quite overwhelming. So since COVID, our percentage of children with type 2 diabetes has went up 300%. And if we know that blood sugar is related to dementia, look where we're going and on a rapid skyrocket in
But
that
we're
direction.
already going there with it
Yeah.
because Science Direct 2 years ago came out with, even maybe 2 years, don't mark me on time, with an article that was really alarming, saying that there was an alarming number of 18 to 27-year-olds presenting in the emergency room in advanced stage peripheral artery disease known as critical limb ischemia or critical limb threatening ischemia. We're just not talking about general CLI. We're talking about limb threatening, on deck for amputation, wounds that are not healing, leg cramps that are waking them up at night. And they're saying the number one cause is the higher numbers of type 2 diabetics as teens.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's really blowing my mind, and we have to get control on this. So, I, on my soapbox on that, um, get control of your sugar is really the takeaway here.
Yeah, it's hugely important for brain health. And so we don't think about it for brain health as much. We kind of think the brain is its own separate organ, but it's all interconnected. And so our endocrine system and our brain, and so we really want to pay attention to that as well.
Okay, we also have to mention, I know I joked about it a little bit ago, sleep, 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 sleep. How important is sleep for the brain,
It's
really? I mean,
everything.
there's some of us that are constant thinkers, right? And we're
Yeah,
constantly waking up in the middle of the night with ideas and we're writing them down, but we need to stop that. We need to get a proper rest.
right. Because sleep is it's everything, right? Because during sleep, our brain is literally washing out toxins. It's consolidating memories and it resets, right? And if you have one bad night, that can increase brain inflammation and reduce your focus. And so, and think about like if we don't sleep for one night, how bad is our next day going to work or doing whatever? We're not on our game anymore if we're having poor sleep. And if that's chronic, meaning something that's happening over and over, well, we know that it's linked to Alzheimer's as well. So our brain health is really linked to sleep, and it's such an important piece of that.
And I want to go back to diet because I'm still sugar, 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 sugar. Um, so diet, of course, really matters. And for diabetic diets, people really focus on keto. Is
Mhm.
keto, it's good maybe physically. Is it good overall therapeutically?
Yeah, so a therapeutic keto diet really helps fuel the brain with ketones, and those are cleaner than glucose and they can improve energy, clarity, and memory. So it can really help with insulin resistance if that's present. And the thing is, we don't want to do a diet like keto long term, but if we're doing a reset on things and then later you pair it with key nutrients and phytonutrients that the body needs as well. And those phytonutrients are things that come from those rich, colorful vegetables and fruits that we eat, and especially those purpley blues. You know, we know blueberries are good for brain health, pomegranate, and things like that. And so we can see real cognitive gains from a keto diet. You know, it kind of lifts that brain fog and everything. And so it's a good way to reset. The best diet out there is the Mediterranean added polyphenols, meaning those rich purpley blue vegetables and fruits as well.
So with keto, I mean, we're not talking about, there are diabetic groups out there and that talk about the keto diet, and they have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of members. And in these groups, they talk about eating 5 eggs and a big old nothing else.
Yeah, I
That's
think
their idea of a keto diet.
Yeah, if you're going to eat do a keto diet, a therapeutic keto diet. It's really clean sources of proteins and things like that. It's not just a pure bacon diet or eggs and things.
Hmm.
So you want to be specific about what you're fueling the body, right? Because we know if we're eating these really high fat foods, we're also still continuing with inflammation.
And we all know that walking is medicine for peripheral artery disease, but how does movement actually help our brain?
So it exercise boosts that BDNF, so that brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is a mouthful there, which kind of acts like a fertilizer for your brain cells. So it supports your memory, mood, and even the growth of new brain connections. And it can actually reduce insulin resistance. It can reduce inflammation in the body. And those are two major culprits of cognitive decline.
How do loneliness and stress actually impact our brain health?
That, that's a really good question. So chronic stress shrinks the brain's memory center, and loneliness is now considered a risk factor for dementia. We really seen that in COVID, that loneliness and how people would decline mentally. But the flip side of that's powerful, right? So learning something new, staying socially connected, practicing mindfulness, those can all build brain resilience. So we really, want to encourage that, encourage connection, encourage, community, because that's so important for brain health.
And you mentioned earlier toxins, also infections can actually play a role in memory issues. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, so infections and toxins, more than we realize, really does have a bearing on our memory. So when when I'm looking at that, I'm thinking like mold, your heavy metal exposure, or even chronic infections like people with Lyme, those can cause brain fog or memory loss. And so part of our job is to just kind of help people remove what's harming the brain, right? And then we rebuild this with support. So if there's exposures to mold or heavy metal or a chronic Lyme or a gut dysbiosis, then we want to kind of remove those triggers of infection so the body can heal, right? Because inflammation due to those toxins can cause a lot of issues.
And I'm about to enter into a topic that is near and dear to your heart because we have talked about this a number of times. We've talked about gut health and gut health's impact on cardiovascular disease and peripheral artery disease. Now, how about the impact of gut health on your brain?
So that's a great question because we're learning so much about the gut brain connection. Like we're hearing talk about it all the time. If you ever listen to Dr. Amen, he's doing lots of scans on people's brain. He talks hugely about the gut brain connection. But gut bacteria produces neurotransmitters and it can influence inflammation and it also can help regulate your mood and cognition. So when we support the gut, we can often see improvements in focus, energy, and even memory. And I do lots of gut testing. We look on the microbiome. A lot of times, almost all of my patients come and want to learn more about their microbiome. But even in my teens that I find that have like lots of anxiety, so that gut brain connection, I'll often start looking in the microbiome, which is a stool test. You do that at home and everything, but looking at good and bad bacteria and the balance of that, and just helping if they've been exposed to a toxin or if there's parasites or worms or overgrowth of candida species, which is driven by sugar. Those are the things that we're looking for. But I have found in healing the gut and reducing inflammation, like we can kind of turn the corner on anxiety, depression. And so there's a huge gut brain connection.
So this is probably what everyone's asking right about now is cognitive health, is it reversible? Can we actually do something about it and change the course? Or are we just looking at, okay, we'll make these changes and we can possibly slow it down?
So here's the hopeful truth about that. In many cases, yes, it's reversible, right? The sooner we start to pay attention and focus, like we have the best outcomes, right? So we've seen patients improve their memory, their focus, they've regained independence when we identify and address kind of root causes. It's not just about slowing decline, but it's actually about reclaiming function as well. And so if we're removing inflammation, we're working on insulin and blood sugar balancing, we've got a community, we're connecting, we're sleeping well, well, then we allow a space for the body to heal and the brain to heal. And so that improves our cognitive function.
So if someone thinks that they're having some sort of cognitive decline, what should they do first?
So I'm a big fan for getting labs done, and especially, well, so if you're not seeing a provider, the first thing you can do is improve your sleep, like work on your sleep. And it starts with bedtime routines. Like people can start to work on having a consistent go to bed and being on a circadian rhythm. Like the sun naturally comes up at a certain time and goes down at a certain time. We should get up at a certain time and go down at a certain time. You want to move daily. Like that's a huge thing that we can do. And we always talk about walking and really putting that into your daily walking, being in nature, like those things are really impactful, and cleaning up your diet. So when you clean up the diet, we're at the goal is to add 30 different colors of fruits and vegetables in a day or a week. And so the diversity of that can be really beneficial to the gut health, to helping our own natural detoxification, helps our mitochondria. So that's our powerhouse of our cells. The earlier that we start with cleaning up our diet, moving daily, improving our sleep, the better. And then, like the labs that we would want to do and to look at is our inflammatory markers. So many of us get the CRP or C-reactive protein done, looking at your glucose levels, insulin, and even hormones are beneficial in slowing the decline of things. So those are some basic things that we can do to really help that are impactful.
And I heard that there is a dementia test that they're now looking at. I can't remember what it is. We were talking about it with a guest that we had on our radio show, The Heart of Innovation, recently. I'll have to go back and look. But for those who are listening right now and want to look up that test, you can try and Google it, or you can go to youtube.com/, the way at the at sign, the way to my heart, and search through our The Heart of Innovation. And we just recently talked about Alzheimer's and dementia, and they were talking about they have an actual clinic that they have started that focuses on cognitive health and is doing exactly what you're saying, which is to dive deeper. And they're trying to offer different doctors and functional medicine practitioners their platform that makes it easier to get help, to help people get a handle on their cognitive health, because there's so many natural things and infections and molds and all this, the toxins in your environment, like things that you can control, that a lot of people just say, well, you know what? You have dementia, you have Alzheimer's, you have cognitive decline. The doctor's like, can't do anything about it, just sucks. Good luck to you. But they're actually saying that before you do any of that, before you jump into the world of medication, of pharmacy, make sure that you get the right blood work to understand what's the root cause, because what they're finding is exactly what you're saying, that there is so much you can do to improve upon your cognitive health on your own first. And from your experience and what you learned, um, with these 8 pillars and people making changes around them, do they have any clinical evidence, or did they share any examples of it actually proof that doing these things actually works?
So there was a lot of talk, but there was one of the physicians there, Christy White, who her and by healing one of her patients who couldn't get healed in other realms, and they developed an app where they can put like all the readables that we do of what we're wearing, like the Aura Ring and then our labs and everything. But they have developed this platform to really like show when you're doing these things, the improvement and cognitive decline. It's called True Neuro, and I'm actually going to be talking to them and learning more about it. So, yeah,
That's actually who we had on, wasn't it? Our producer,
yeah,
Josh. I believe that is, we had one of the co-founders on, James uh Mac something. I know we had him on. His name is James. He's great. And I was just, when you said Christy, I was like, wait a minute, isn't that the his partner? And they work together. So that's really interesting. You definitely were at the source.
yeah, yeah. We get to
We're
hear.
hearing it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, we get to see the, before and afters, the tracking of it and everything. And like just being there and listening to how these practitioners are working in their clinics. I'm like, I want to do more of that for our patients. And so looking into diving deeper into cognitive health and everything. Like we always already are doing so much with gut health, hormones, and everything. And so I think many of the things we do fall into this, but there's a few things that I'm like, oh, we can definitely start focusing more on that, especially like community connection.
I can see you're really excited about this information, and I bet that you can't wait to jump in and start getting into your clinical practice and seeing how you can apply this every day with all of your own patients.
hmm I know. I can't wait to talk to them about this app and see if I can implement it. So more to come on that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the website right now. So I was explaining exactly the platform that you're talking about, the Trunera, what is it? TRUNEURA.com.
Yep.
And Dr. Christine Burke is one of the founders.
Yeah.
And so it's so interesting because I just happened to run into the co-founder James in one of my community groups, and I was so impressed with what he was talking about and the direction they're going. And he was saying it helped, their methods actually helped one of his family members, and it was really encouraging to
Mhm.
see. And they're the ones I learned about the dementia test actually from. So it's in that particular show. I'll have to go back and look. And as I said, so folks, you can actually go back into our database over there at youtube.com/, the @ sign, the way to my heart. Don't forget to subscribe while you're there. Maybe like this video too. It's helpful for us. And then you can see more great content. But there is Under the Heart of Innovation show, or you can check under our live section, because we did interview James, the co-founder of Trunera, live, and you can find out more about the advances in cognitive health. So what's even more interesting is, I bet you that conference was exactly what they were talking about on the show, and they were previewing on the show
Yeah.
because he wanted to do it before some cognitive health conference. Wow, what a small world.
Yep.
Anyway, you and I could chat forever. Any final thoughts about what you learned about the 8 pillars of cognitive health before we sign off for the day?
I would just say pick some of those actionable things and start implementing them. Move more, eat eat better, high quality fruits and vegetables, and connect with your people, whoever your tribe is.
Well, I'm glad that you're part of my tribe.
Yeah.
And I'm part of your tribe. I appreciate you so much. If people want to find out more about your practice and get in touch with you, where can they go?
Aspire Wellness Integrative Health.com. You can find us on, well, the YouTube channel here at MP Deidre. We
Be
also,
sure to like and subscribe.
yep, like and subscribe. I have Instagram, Facebook, all of those socials.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, nurse practitioner Deidre. We have more incredible episodes to come. You don't want to miss a thing. So make sure you do subscribe to our channels so that you can get more great content, because nurse practitioner Deidre was telling me before the show that there are many topics, many new things that she learned from this conference. And so you don't want to miss out being on the cutting edge of what's new and next, probably, I would argue, in the world of